around the Marshall County area. This is Ray Mofield, and today we're visiting in the home of Tula Nichols in Benton. It's a real pleasure to be with Miss Tula today. We've had so many pleasant experiences at Southern Harmony singings and so on over the years. But first of all, Miss Tula, thank you for letting me come. And we want to start off by finding out where you were born.
I was born in Marshall County.
Was that near?
Down below Scale.
Near Scale. Well,
close to Oak Valley.
Who was your father?
Milburn Peck.
Well, no wonder you were born near Scale in Oak Valley. That's Peck country down through there. And are you related to my wife somewhere?
Yes, I am. Our fathers were cousins, own cousins, so you can tell what a kin we are.
Well, I learn something every time I talk to you. And your mother was?
She was Lydia English,
Yeah.
before she married my father.
And you were born about how long ago?
Well, now that's not fair. I don't want to say.
Unfair. You don't want to say. Well, okay.
Yeah, I was born 1903.
All right. Now, you grew up in that neighborhood, did you?
I sure did.
Well, I wonder if you went to the University of Oak Valley to school.
Oh, yes, that's where I got my diploma.
Yeah. You know, every year we have a homecoming down there now, and I went with Janie. It's not the fanciest fair in the world. We take our own lawn chairs and sit down and eat there and have a great time and enjoy one another's company. The food's great because the women bring it.
Well, for the last few years, I've got to go to be with all of them. It's like going back home.
Yeah, it really is. It's like going over to your son Frank's. I really had a time over there.
Oh, you do when you go over there.
Yeah.
But he wants to entertain.
He really does. Well, let's see. I guess we better get back on the topic. So you went to school at Oak Valley. Do you remember any of your teachers?
Yes, I remember some of my teachers, and I remember the little schoolhouse, about the first one I guess is ever built.
Was
and
there
it had two doors in the front. Boys went in on one side and the girls on the other.
Oh.
Sometimes we'd make a mishap and go in different doors.
And the teacher might box your ears for that, huh?
Well, they'd say, you're supposed to come in over there. Sometimes we'd forget.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
I think my first teacher was Mr. Lamar Rose. And then Ewell Sled. And then Miss Ethel Washburn. And Miss Alina White.
Say you've just rattled them off there. Why I couldn't do that?
And let me see. I went to Bonnie Stringer, Bonnie Love. And that was about the time that Dr. What was his name? Scale. Dr. Goff, the little girl fell in their well and drowned. And I know we turned out that afternoon. Everybody was so upset.
Was that the Dr. Goff that was a veterinarian here?
He was, and a preacher.
I remember him. And didn't he have a son that was world famous as a strong man?
Yes, Hobson Goff.
I remember that. He'd take a horseshoe and just bend it like it was a rubber band, sort of.
Yes. Said when his baby was born, he got out, he was 2 or 3 days old, and threw it over the top of the house, went around on the other side and caught it.
Oh, me.
That's what I was told. I don't know if he did or didn't.
Well, he did so many almost miraculous things that I would be afraid to doubt what he did. All right, what did you like in school most? Do you remember any of the games you played? Or?
Oh, I like my reading and my arithmetic too, fairly well. And oh yes, we played all kinds of games.
Did you sing any back then?
Oh yes, we sang. And we would just have a ball when Christmas came. Why, my daddy would take the wagon and carry us if it was snowing or whatever kind of weather it was for us to have a big play. Somebody said to me the other day uptown, said, well, I've not seen you in years. Did you remember playing the games that we used to play at Oak Valley? And I said, yes, they still stick with me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, that's wonderful. Those. What would life be without memories?
Sometimes I think mine's getting sort of blank.
No. Oh, I think you're still having a wonderful time. Now, let's see.
And something else I want to tell you. I was born in a log cabin. I'm like Abraham Lincoln.
You were?
My father and mother had a log cabin, and later on it had an upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Later on they built rooms around it.
Mm-hmm. We lived one time in a log house. Of course, Dad was a sharecropper, and we moved quite frequently. I believe 12 times before I finished high school. And one year we lived on Rob Jackson's farm, and there was a log house there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that, although I think the farm where I was born, near Olive, belonging to Jim Will Barnett, was a frame house.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, you should have run for president or something,
Well,
because...
I guess I'd have been elected, don't you?
Well, nearly everybody that claims they were born in a log cabin, you know, they always amount to something. And they've done real well in politics. Well, about that, how long did you live there? But were you married before you left the Scale area?
Well, my grandfather passed away and grandmother, so my daddy moved down to their place. It wasn't very far from our house.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived down there. I married when I lived down there. I don't know. We were down there quite a while. And
Who was your grandfather?
it was John Marion Peck.
Uh-huh. John Peck.
Mm-hmm.
So the Pecks have been very prolific in that area. It seemed like everybody was a Peck. I know Bill Ross married a Henrietta Peck,
Yes,
didn't he?
that was George Lee's daughter.
Uh-huh. And, of course, Ezra's, I guess his mother was a Peck,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Ezra Blumenberg.
That's how come us a kin.
Yeah.
Now I have 4 children.
All right, tell us about your children. Now, I know Frank real well. I know he's president of the Bank of Benton now, and he's been in the banking business in Louisville and various other places. I don't know where all right now.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he married my wife's first cousin.
Well, we're just about a kin, too. No, John Wilson, he was the oldest boy. He runs this Western shoe place uptown
Mm-hmm.
on the south side of the courthouse.
Nichols Hideout.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Uh-huh.
And he's a leap year boy.
Well, he hadn't had many birthdays.
He doesn't have many birthdays. He's born on the 29th of February.
And
then Frank and Merlin and Martha. Martha married Ernie Long.
mm-hmm.
And Merlin married,
Now, does Martha live here in the county?
she lives just down below Palma.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Merlin married Shorty Carey, we call him, but his name is Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
And
Air conditioning man or
Oh,
heating
yeah.
or something.
quite busy.
I know I see him doing work around here and there. So all of your children then are right nearby.
Right now they are.
Mhm.
Frank's been way more in the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm glad to have him back home.
Now, when did you get married, and who did you marry?
I married Coleman Duke Nichols. I married him in 1926.
Mm-hmm. Now, was he a farmer at that time, or?
Well, he was raised on the farm down towards Sharp,
Mm-hmm.
and then he went, when he got out of school, he went to Akron, Ohio, and he worked in the gas company,
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Ohio Gas, for several years.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then he went into the banking business also.
that's
didn't he?
right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I can remember him as Uh, to my mind, and I don't say that certainly don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, uh, whether Nichols is or otherwise.
Mhm.
But I always thought Duke was the best Southern Harmony leader that I ever heard.
He did sing quite well. His father did too.
Of course, we had a lot of good ones. I know we had Loman Trevathan, and we had Boone Hill, and we had Henry Lovitz and
Henry Hill.
and on. We could keep naming them. Of course, Raymond Lay is still around leading some for us.
That's right.
But I don't know, it just seemed to me like that Duke had a little touch there of being awfully good at that. And he loved it, didn't he?
Oh, yes, he liked to sing.
I've heard, and I don't remember this, but somebody told me that his father was a singer.
Yes, he was. He was Willie Nichols,
Uh-huh.
and his mother was Ollie Nichols. And Grandpa Nichols always loved the big singing.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great person.
Well, how did you meet Duke?
Well, kind of funny subject, I guess. I don't know. I used to meet him a lot of times down to my grandmother. She lived down that way.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be down there. And then, of course, when he went away to school, I'd hear from him quite often.
Mm-hmm. He kept writing back.
That's right. I'd see him when he came home.
So he had a little bit of interest there that he didn't give up even when he went away to school.
That's right.
Okay. And you answered his letters.
Oh, sure. I wouldn't miss those.
Okay. So you were interested
We had
too.
a neighbor that lived close to us, and when I'd be expecting a letter, we lived about a half a mile from the mailbox then. It was down on the old bottom road. So I'd be kind of afraid to go by myself way down there every day. So I said to Edgar Hicks, I said, Edgar, I want you to go and meet the mailbox one day. He said, well, who are you going to get mail from today? I said, well, I'm expecting somebody to write me a letter. He said, yes, you want to get a love letter, don't you?
Did that make you mad?
Well, I know, that pleased me.
Yeah. Well, after you married, did you ever leave the county and go
Yes,
off?
sir. We left in about, maybe a week after we were married. We went back to Ohio where he was working,
Mm-hmm.
and we lived up there. That's where John was born, in Ohio.
John was an Otuck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have a club in Ohio, I've read, that they call the Otucks.
Mm-hmm.
And they're Kentuckians who live in Ohio.
That's right.
So, all right. Then when did you come back to Marshall County?
Well, about every year I came back, but then we were up there I think it was about 3 years, a little over.
Mm-hmm. And did he get a job in
That's
the
right.
bank
Mm-hmm.
that brought him back
That's right.
to Marshall County? And
Mm-hmm.
have you ever been sorry that you came back to the county?
No, I haven't. I'd like to go back to Akron sometime, but I know it's so different that I wouldn't know where I was, I don't guess.
Probably not. Yeah, they have a big football stadium there called the Rubber Bowl, I know now, and Murray's in that
Mhm.
conference, and we.
Mhm.
Incidentally, your son's on the Board of Regents, isn't he?
That's right. He's over at Murray this week.
Mm-hmm. Well, that shows that somebody in the state, including the governor, had a great deal of respect for him and placed
Well,
him on that position.
He seems to be real happy with his work over there. He said it keeps him on the go.
Well, it does, and it's a public service type of thing. You know, as someone said, the only thing they pay is your expenses over there and back, and of course, that's not very much, as it turns out from here. When do you remember coming to Benton the first time? What did it look like? Was it?
Oh, now that's a good story.
Mhm.
My grandpa used to call Mother I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old. Of a morning, he'd say, "Liddy, you get Tula ready. I'm going to Benton this morning, and let her go with me." Well, we would get in that big buggy with a big white horse, and here we'd come. On the way up here, he'd give
That
me.
was a thrill, wasn't
It was a big thrill to me. Now I just wouldn't have changed that for going to Washington D.C.
it? Mm-hmm.
And on the way up there, he'd say, "Tula, I've got a nickel or a dime." Sometimes he'd give me a dime. On the way up here, and he said, "You buy you something." Well, along me, I studied all the way. What could I buy with all that much money?
Yeah.
And now, if you give a child a dime or a nickel, he'd throw it in your face. So maybe I'd get me cookies or candy or whatever I wanted with that. 2 or 3 things out of that one dime, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd drive up and hitch around the courthouse to a post. There wasn't no banister or anything. It's just a big old post.
No parking meters,
No,
just
oh
a
no.
place to hitch the horse.
Hitch the horse and stay all day if you wanted to.
They
So.
didn't run you off then.
No.
If you didn't feed the money. Well, that's great. I love a story like that because I can remember at one time, I guess I was a pretty lively little individual, and I was about 5 years old. And I was just buzzing around everywhere. And we were in a place called Horace Smith's Grocery.
Mm-hmm.
And Van Ratliff, I believe it was, says, "You know, if you'd sit still for 5 minutes, I'd give you a nickel." So they set me up on the counter. And everybody tried to talk to me. They were just doing their best. I
That's
wasn't
right.
supposed to say a word. See, all right? I didn't. They'd ask me my name. They'd wave their hands in front of my eyes. Just do all kinds. I just sat there just like a statue. For 5 minutes ticked by. And they had a lot of fun out of that. He said it was worth it.
Yeah, why, sure it was. Well, back to my grandfather coming to town, he'd say he had to come and get sugar. He'd get, had little kegs. He'd get a keg full of brown sugar and a keg full of white sugar. Well, I don't know how long that would last, but I was always hoping the sugar would get away so I could get to go back to Benton.
You know, I didn't remember. I don't remember hearing the story that they sold sugar in kegs.
Well, he'd take his keg. I don't know what they had the sugar in, but anyway, he'd always get his keg filled with sugar.
Mm-hmm.
One was brown and one was white.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I was always anxious for Grandma to get busy and make tea cakes out of some of that sugar.
Did you ever eat any those cookies or cakes made out of molasses?
Oh, yes. I guess I ate plenty of them.
Now, a lot of people think that must have been terrible, but I enjoyed it.
Well, I enjoyed back then. I don't know if this younger generation was raised up back then. I don't know how they do. They do just like we did, I guess.
I suppose if they had
But
to,
if they had to.
they wouldn't like it very much.
No, not now. You couldn't change it.
Not having that little bit of money. Did you ever get to ride a train back in those days?
Yes, I rode a train and thrilled to death.
Did Paducah, I suppose,
Yeah, I
was a
went
good
to
long
Paducah.
trip.
Mm-hmm. And then I went to Akron one time on a train.
Mm-hmm.
And in Ohio, Dexter, Ohio, I missed my train and had to sit there for several hours before another one was going my way.
That must have been a little frightening.
Well, it was. It was nighttime. I wasn't very happy, but I waited for the next train.
Yeah.
Back, I want to tell you, my great-grandfather was buried at the Old New Hope.
Now, Old New Hope.
Old New Hope, back in the edge of where the New Hope graveyard is now.
Mm-hmm.
My brother went out there and they found the place where he was buried.
You've recently located it then.
Solon did.
Uh-huh.
Solon, his
Where
son-in-law.
Where does Solon live?
He lives at Palma. He and his wife.
Yeah.
he was away from here for quite a while. He was about 40 years. He was in Washington, D.C. And he was with the Bowling Airfield. So he retired, and they moved back, which I'm happy. They live out at Palma.
I remember Palma well from Irvin Poe's store
Yes.
over the years. Of course, Mr. Poe has passed on now. But there's still some Poes around. As a matter of fact, I was just thinking that Ronna Poe, his granddaughter, I guess it would be, is on a basketball scholarship at Murray State.
Mm-hmm.
Freshman this year. She was an all-state player from Marshall County. We've had some great boys and girls basketball teams here, haven't we?
We really have. I'm proud of all of them.
Well, tell us if you remember any of the things your parents might have done to treat illnesses. Did they have any home remedies that you liked or didn't like, or?
Oh, well, I guess that we've had plenty. We had to take, as the old saying, plenty of castor oil and whatever. What was that?
Brown sugar.
Yeah.
Well, did you take any catnip tea, or?
I guess I have. I don't remember that I did, but I guess I have. I know Mother, if we get a sore throat, she'd always fix up us something to drink with honey and sugar and vinegar and liniment and mix it all up for us to gargle our throats and all
Something I
that.
haven't seen lately, and I don't remember now just exactly what it was for, but I remember a fella came by one time and brought us a big batch of slippery elm bark. Now, what do we do with that stuff? You remember what we did with it? It seemed like it, when you chewed it up, and it was
What did you make? Do
terribly,
you remember?
Oh yeah, slippery elm was a great thing.
Was it for if you sprained your ankle or something?
I think they made a poultice or something out of
Any
it.
kind of draw out the boil or
Dry.
anything.
There you go. Now I remember. I had a boil, or 2 or 3 boils on my neck, and that man, I could not, I've thought and thought for years, and I could not remember till your brother mentioned that. And they made a poultice out of it and put it on there, and it brought it to a head and healed it up. So,
Yeah, I remember that. And didn't they use the bran a lot of times for a poultice on your ankles, or if you sprained your ankle?
well, I think so.
Something.
I think so. I can remember my great-grandfather, Hal Edwards, he was a fellow that really liked to use kerosene. If you stepped on a rusty nail or something, why, he'd say, well, now, stand up here, and he'd get the coal oil can and pour a little bit of kerosene in there, and he said, now, it'll never be sore. Well, I don't know whether it helped or not, but I didn't die of tetanus or anything.
Well, I tell you, kerosene's about as scarce now as anything else you can think
Well,
of.
you don't.
You don't have it for that purpose anymore.
Not on every hand, do you?
No, you sure don't.
See it very much. Well,
Go ahead.
what about any other customs? Did you ever have quilting frames?
Sure, I had quilting frames. I quilted, piece quilts, crochet, just name it, all kinds of fancy work, and I'm doing it. My machine's set up over there now. I made 2 cushions yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of getting around towards Christmas, and I have to see what I can do.
Oh, you're trying to get some presents for the children. Yeah?
Oh, yes. Make one for one, but the other's mad if he don't get one.
Yeah. Well, do you have any grandchildren?
Yes, sir, I do. I have grandchildren. I have about, I'll have to look and see. I forgot. I've got 9 grandchildren.
Say, that sounds like a very handsome number to me.
And 8 grandchildren.
You got 8 greats. Well, that's real fine. Well, I wonder, since we're getting down toward the end of our time, we've got a couple of minutes left, but do you have anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to bring up?
No, I don't believe I do.
Well, what about a funny story of some kind? Did Frank ever say anything that you laugh about now, or?
Oh, well, I couldn't bring up and think about that now. You come in here every morning and you say, Mom, where you been? I have been here. And I said, well, I've been here all the time. You just didn't come in.
Yeah. Well, occasionally someone will have a funny story that they can tell. Of course, to me, the funniest one that I've ever heard, in a way, was the one that Lay in a story told me about the way
Go ahead.
the way she was proposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Said her husband was sort of bashful. So everybody said, well, I wonder if Lex will ever get up enough nerve to ask her to marry him. And said the way he did it, he took her down to the Story graveyard and said, would you like to be buried here?
Oh. Well, that was pretty good. I heard her that morning.
Yeah.
She's good.
Well, we certainly thank you, Miss Tula,
Well,
for
I
letting us
thank
come.
you. I sort of surprised. I didn't think I could tell you much.
Oh, you've told us a great deal, and it's been a real pleasure to visit you here at your beautiful home in Benton and look at all the fall colors and the leaves and the flowers and see some of that, what'd you say it was, crochet work you're doing?
That's right.
Yeah.
Crochet.
I don't believe I could ever learn that.
Sometimes I knit, and sometimes just whatever comes along, I try to do.
You try to stay busy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. This is Ray Mofield, and we've had our oral history microphone roaming around the town again today. And at this point, we return you back to our studio.